somehow unconsciously feed into their clients choking, if
Totally.
you will.
Totally.
And so we've got to monitor our expectations and our needs and the vibes that we're sending off and we're signaling, which is part of the art of co-regulation.
Yeah, no, really good point. The two-step process from empathy to compassion. I had asked Dr. Porges a question in regards to that, if that was physiologically possible or if it aligned with his own experience. And he agreed. And so basically what you're getting at with coaching and what we're all doing is to really understand our player, our performer, our client, our student, our child, our spouse, to really understand and to be a compassionate resource. We actually have to first have a jolt or an experience of empathy. And then we have to quickly recover and come back into our own safe physiology, which is what, Gwen, you were basically saying is, if I'm watching my player choke, or I'm watching my daughter suffer and hurt in pain for whatever reason, initially I have this trigger and I have an empathic response. But in that, in and of itself, that isn't necessarily helping my player. In fact, it's cueing my player of more and more threat, more and more danger. And so I need to recover in my own physiology back to a physiological state that would support my intentions of being a compassionate witness or a supportive coach, right? Or a loving father. And that actually is beyond intention. It's also beyond a top-down. That's actually occurring in the physiology. That's actually occurring with the vagal regulation of our heart. It's actually what would be called vagal efficiency. And that, so what I'm going to start exploring and what we can explore as we grow together are alternative ways to train that capacity that aren't just compassion practices where we sit and we try to create a compassion experience in ourselves. I'm getting at, I think we can help ourselves and our athletes become compassionate witnesses where we can come back into our own sense of safety by training in all different ways. All different ways, if we look at it just physiologically. From doing a Wim Hof breathing practice from this lens could become this. Because we're actually revving up and then we're calming down. And then we're revving up and then we're calming down. So we could actually train vagal efficiency, hot to cold, hot to cold. High intensity interval, and then followed by coming together as a team, right? Like where they come together and they hug and they high five or whatever, like social engagement right after a high intensity interval. Those are clever ways to build that capacity of what you're talking about, where you kind of get near your threshold and then you come back into safety, back into homeostasis, back into social connection. And that is what we as coaches have to do, for sure. Because we don't want to become numb. We don't want to become this sort of coach that isn't, like, that's kind of the misnomer. We see a player or we see a coach, we see a performer, and then we say he's never rattled. That's not what we're getting at. I actually want to be rattled for a second, maybe for a minute, maybe for 5. That's authentic, and that's actually allowing me to understand what we might need to do to actually help the team or the person, right? Otherwise, I really don't understand it. So I think it's an evolutionary response. We have empathy in order to truly understand for our own learning and how we can help the other.